And the other question is, what is your checklist of the cabinet that you think would do a great job in the new government? Now, of course, in the studio this morning, I am joined by Miss Mwansa Kunda. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, have you ever eaten or tested, of course, porridge made out of groundnuts?
Yes, I have. I actually prefer using peanut butter
Okay.
as opposed to the pounded groundnut
Okay.
powder.
Okay.
But yes, I have.
Great.
And I like it.
It is good and healthy, and it's easy to make.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. So, welcome to Zambia. I know you have been out of this country for a while. So, welcome to Zambia.
Thank you.
And of course, you have been working on many aspects, in which we're going to dive into on this particular program. But before we just jump into our conversation, I know we just came out of an election, and we have a new government in play. And maybe we want to start maybe on that particular conversation before I jump into some of the amazing work that you have been up to. What are some of the key takeaway from the just ended election?
The key takeaway is, for me, is that the Zambian people reclaim the narrative of this country, the story of who we are, because it was being redefined in a way that was very scary, very un-Zambian, and very foreign. You know, the breakdown of the rule of law, just the way things were happening, the way the government was functioning. The Zambian people said, no, this is not who we are. This is not where we're going. And this is not our story. So I believe that the just ended election was Zambians reclaiming their country back so that everybody wins.
Yeah.
And not just a few.
Yeah. Now, I know probably when you came into the country, you did vote, by the way, right?
Okay, let me tell you what happened,
Yeah.
right? So I was on the year 2000. I think
Yeah.
we had election in the year 2000.
Yeah.
I was on that register.
Uh-huh.
So had they not wiped out the 2016 register,
Yeah.
I would have been on it. So unfortunately, because of that, I did not vote.
Yeah. I'm looking at some of the things that you do. Of course, you're passionate about putting the interest of Zambia first. And of course, you have a YouTube channel called I Stand with Zambia, which exhibits, of course, investigative journalists and it's documentaries actually. And on that, probably focus on Zambian history. And of course, looking at the same, probably some of the key aspect here is that you're also focused on into good governance as well as issues of natural resources, protection of national identity as Zambian. And of course, beside that, when you are in the UK, probably specializing in, you have, is it master planning, policy creation and implementation?
Yeah, well,
Town planning?
It's town planning,
Yeah.
yes, and within the town planning, those three things are what I do.
Attached to it. That's amazing stuff.
It is amazing.
Do we expect some wisdom in a Zambian perspective? What you do outside there, do we expect more of that in our country?
As a town planner?
Yeah.
You know, Zambia has a town planning institute. However, at the moment, the town planning institute is not being utilized. Neither are the town planning departments being fully utilized. Why do I say that? Because of the manner in which the development springs up in this country. It's not coordinated. Sometimes you have development near a railway track when there should be some meters apart between the railway and residential places. You have malls within like a 5-minute drive from each other. That's not, that does not help an economy thrive, because you're saturating the market, so you want to create demand. So you have to distance them so that you can have other businesses. So that's all part of town planning. I know it sounds a bit more like economics, but it's about the vitality of the town.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to see this new administration give the power back to the national planning ministry or national planning department who work through the local authorities to really be able to do their job, because I see there in Danji being a lot of demolition taking place in the near future.
Poor planning in terms
Because of
construction.
no planning permission. It's not in line with the overall development plan for maybe Lusaka, And also, speaking of Lusaka, Zambia is not just Lusaka. And there's so much of this scanty development that I'm seeing. But then you have the other places in the country where there's nothing. Like Chipata looks like it's never been touched since 1924. And yet it's a beautiful hilly, it has beautiful natural, it has natural beauty. I mean, I've never been to Chipata, but I've seen it, like, vloggers on YouTube, and, and I'm like, wow, look at those hills, that is amazing, that's beautiful. So there's so much potential in every province, I think, in every district, for the beauty of, for this planning national planning to be able to bring out the best of every province.
Yeah. Speaking about expectation, I think it's aligned to some of the expectation you expect from the new government.
Absolutely.
Maybe just to stress out more, what other aspect do you think the new government should prioritize more in making sure that, of course, Zambia develops to a standard that it should be?
What I've heard them say what they're going to do, which is what I'm like, okay, well, we're going to put you to that. They're saying that they want to enforce the rule of law. Because in Danji, if you're in a lawless country, people are not going to want to develop, people are not going to want to invest. And I'm not just talking about foreigners. Even us Zambians who live in the diaspora, when there is no rule of law, people are not safe. They don't feel safe to invest their money, to invest their time. So I'm happy to know that this administration is taking it seriously to restore and enforce the rule of law in this country. I don't need to tell you, but we know what was happening. It was very scary, even for you journalists. Like, you were almost like under siege. Like you almost couldn't say something, even though there was nothing wrong with saying that. You were just saying the truth. But because you didn't want to offend anyone or get your TV station shut down, you couldn't do those things. So the rule of law also involves allowing us to have liberties in the law. What does the law allow us to do? Not just what it doesn't allow us to do. So I'm really happy to know that we have a government who is interested in making sure that Zambian people are happy in Zambia. They're safe in Zambia. And the just ended election, I got to tell you, a lot of people from Zimbabwe, Uganda, even Namibia, I saw a message of people saying, I wish that was in our country. You guys are so blessed. You guys are so lucky. Oh, wow. And, it's that's who we are as Zambians. We've always been like, KK and, helping countries in the region have peace. That's who we were. We were always peaceful people. And that narrative was being changed because the unrest was happening within. And that was really scary and very uncomfortable. So I'm really glad that we have reclaimed that, and the government of today, they are prioritizing making sure that Zambia is great again. Yeah.
Now, dive into your work, your many work, of course. I'm going to say many work because I know you are into other things. I Stand with Zambia.
Yeah.
Why did you come up with that, and why are you focusing on that particular scenario?
Thanks for asking that. So I'll take you back to, I started I Stand with Zambia, which is a YouTube and Facebook channel, in June 2020. What was happening around that time? Around that time, we had an incident where Zambians were being abused by our Chinese, some Chinese investors in the country, some were mistreating our people. And it was all over the news, all over. And so Miles Sampa, at the time when he was mayor, he took it upon himself to go to these companies and say, hey, don't do this to our people. And so we were all excited. Yeah, this is not how we do things in this country, da-da-da. And then I saw him have to give an apology. And he was apologizing for defending a Zambian in Zambia. And that broke my heart. And everyone had this hashtag, I stand with Miles, I stand with Miles. But Miles wasn't standing with Miles. Miles was standing with Zambia, upholding the integrity of us as people. And so I wept, Ndanji. I've never cried, but I wept for my nation. And so I said, I'm going to start a channel called I Stand with Zambia, and I'm going to discuss things that are important to Zambia, that talk about where we are politically, like what's the real story with ZESCO? Who really owns KK International? Why don't we own it? What loans were agreed? What was the condition of certain loans? And all these things were not being discussed in the Zambian media. But Ndanji, they were in the public domain on Google. Bloomberg, The Economist, they were all having these articles about what's going on in Zambia. But when I would watch the Zambian media, I wouldn't see that. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to bring this out. Let's discuss these things. And that's where the journalistic part comes in. But in terms of the Zambian history, it goes back to that narrative. The story of who we are, it's like there was a generation that didn't know anything beyond MMD. And then it's like Kaunda's whatever Kaunda did was bad because MMD came and gave us democracy. So life started in 1990, 1991. And I was like, no, there is a story. Before 1964, before UNIP, before Northern Rhodesia, before Cecil Rhodes, what was there? Who were we? Those questions. And so my channel tells the Zambian stories. And I'm really, really proud of that.
Yeah. And some of the many, and I know this, you never noticed that your work was in form of investigative journalist.
Yes.
But you just did it because these are some of the things that you needed to bring out.
Exactly.
I was looking at some of the content that you've worked on, which is amazing. And I feel like a lot of people have to get to feel that and understand it from that perspective so that they can have that acuteness in terms of understanding what really is part from different issues that you touched, of course. And I feel like maybe moving forward as a country, there's need to also appreciate and also change the narrative of how we handle certain things that have got a national face to it as a country.
Yes.
And I think we need to support such kind of activities so that we can learn more and build from that perspective.
Yes.
Quite an amazing job. Now, I know that President Hakainde Hichilema has got a huge task ahead, and I think we have been seeing a bit of appointments happening here and there, and we expect him to make more appointments, and in particularly to what I know Zambian people, there's something on social media trending now that he's not yet delivering what he said. What is happening? Maybe let's just get an understanding. Is a government expected to start delivering as soon as it is in office? What kind of scenario, from your perspective, how is the arrangement?
I think the arrangement is just fine in Danji. I think they have been planning even before they came into government. And there's such a mess that our country is in right now. They have inherited such a mess that even with the most recent appointment of Mr. Msokotwane, I'm expecting so many reports to come out to inform the nation of where we really are. Because nobody really knows, except the PF, how much debt we're really in. So I'm expecting, and I think there was an article that Mr. Msokotwane that I saw where he was saying that he just discovered that even during the elections, during the campaigns, more money was being borrowed. So this new government needs time. They are taking their time. They have 5 years. We already trust them. I think the people who are complaining didn't vote for them. But for the man that left that gap, we're saying we are supporting them. You know, you don't want to rush into things. Otherwise, you end up having a situation like what Michael Sata did when he appointed people, and I think he over-appointed, and then he came back and said, my ministers are useless. That's not going to happen. That just happens when you don't have a good team around you. And I believe that this administration has a good team, and I say that because they keep on telling us that we want people who have merit. We want people who have the drive. We want people. So I believe that not only are they that sort of team, but they want to birth out that from the Zambian people. So just give them time. They're absolutely doing everything okay. I mean, hasn't it just been like a week or something?
A month.
No, not yet. Oh, I see you looking forward to a month.
Probably 2 weeks.
It's been 2 weeks. Come on. Just give them time. They are doing everything methodically so that you don't have to go back and correct mistakes. You know as well as I do, not everybody you start with is going to be there in the middle and is going to be there in the end. But they say in when a plane goes, they say something about how a plane, depending on how a plane takes off, that's how it's going to land, or something like that. There's some phrase in pilot language.
Okay.
There's something about that. So
Yeah.
the way they're starting, their foundation is solid. Or let me go to construction. When you digging, the higher you want to go in a building, you have to go deeper. So their foundation is there, and they're just setting just setting that first layer, that second layer, so that we can have a strong country. Because there's a lot that they're going to discover that that the previous administration did that they kept secret, and they are not going to want to alarm the country. When they find that out, I believe the responsible thing to do would be to, okay, how are we going to address this, and how are we going to tell the people that we're going to fix it? Then they're going to say, this is what we found, but don't worry, we're going to do this.
Yeah, I know. I usually know that a time is not always without on the breakfast show. We have a lot to unpack, but just maybe two questions that I have for you is that I know we're asking the viewers what their checklist of ministers or cabinet ministers is. Do you have one, by the way?
I would like to see what's his name, Cornelius Muitwa.
Okay.
I would like to see him, because I know he used to be a policeman.
Okay.
I would love to see him help us enforce the law in this country. I think he would be a good fit for that, because he's such an awesome speaker when he speaks. You know, did you ever watch the parliamentary proceedings? He was a person. Okay, tradition has no place in parliament. So for you to say, how can you say that? The person is an elder, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, bruh, we're here to do work. Like, we are lawmakers. And he would go to work, and he would speak to the people on the other end in line with the law, in line with what should be done. And you see someone getting offended. And, like, so I'm thinking, like, do these guys even know why they're here, why they're in government? Like, so I like him. He speaks the truth, and he knows his job well. Who else would I like to see? I don't know. Maybe... no, he's my top.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Your last remarks on the breakfast show as we wind up, and of course you can make mention. I know you have worked in a number of cases. I mean, when a case studies, particularly in Zambia, with I Stand with Zambia.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe what could be your last remarks in also touching some of, maybe I would also want, maybe before you leave, maybe a success, a particular documentary that you have done that you feel that you're proud of. Say, I did this, and I think this has created an impact. Yeah.
That's a hard question, Danji, because I think I did well on everything. Like, I'll just put that out there.
Okay, so we're gonna leave it there then. Everything is all good.
Okay, no. But there's one in particular that I will mention quickly. The Barotse land issue. I did a documentary that looked at what that issue is. Have you? I'm sure you've heard of it, and you've probably been told to stay away from it because it's too contentious. People are going to start rioting.
There's a lot of issues under that particular issue. Yeah.
I unpacked that thing like a diaper bag. I'm telling you, I went in there. Danji, and I found that we were a separate country before we became Zambia. We were two different protectorates. And then the British brought us together as Northern Rhodesia. So this is why sometimes you might have the North and the East, and then the South and the West and the Northwest. But we came together, and that coming together helped us become Zambia. Zambia is a result of Northern Rhodesia and Barotse land agreeing to become a country called Zambia. Check out the documentary.
You can check it out. Your last remarks on the breakfast show this morning.
Well, I just want to thank you for having me on, and thank you for the opportunity to showcase my platform, I Stand with Zambia. It means a lot to me, and I'm really happy to know that you took time to see what I do. And I'm just wishing the new administration so much success. If the government does well, we will do well. It's automatic. We are going to prosper, and so we have to support the government. If you're a Christian, please pray for the government. Don't stop praying for the government. That's what I would say.
Well, Ms. Mwansa, thank you so much for coming to the live breakfast in the morning. Well, there you had it. Make sure you do check out those documentaries, I Stand with Zambia. And of course, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, of course, I'm interacting with other panelists who are going to be dipping down into the insight of different issues on this very platform. Keep watching Live Breakfast in the Morning.